Hi, this is Sweet June. How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a blessed Saturday. Uh, Supposed to be 80 degrees here in Michigan today, but it seems like it's going back and forth. You know, the sun comes out, goes back in, then the wind start blowing, and it feels a little colder. But allegedly, it's supposed to be 80 degrees, supposedly. Pure Michigan. Anyway, I don't know if you guys heard about the abortion law that was just passed in Alabama. A lot of people are talking about that, a lot of buzz going on about that. And they did something on the news the other day how that was going to affect Michigan, but I didn't get a chance to watch that. But apparently, allegedly, apparently, Alabama just passed a law that outlawed abortions. You cannot have an abortion legally have an abortion in that state. And if any doctor is caught performing an abortion, it will be punishable. They will get prosecuted. So they have absolutely, completely banned abortion all across the board in Alabama. Except, I think if it's life or death situations, if the mother's life is in danger, then they'll make that's if it's a medical type situation, then they say that's understandable. In cases of incest, I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure on that one. Sound off in the comment section. Let me know what they said about the incest situation. But I know they said if it was a medical situation, then that's different. But other than that, a woman cannot. If you live in Alabama and you are a resident of Alabama, you cannot have an abortion, or you will get prosecuted. They said that they declared that the child is a human being, which is something that a lot of people, a lot of Christians, a lot of pro-lifers have been saying all these years, that it's a life at the time of conception. It is a life. That's what pro-lifers and Christians and all religions across the board have been saying for years. That's what, basically been saying for years, that it is a life at the time of conception. And God, what I like about this law that they just passed is that it goes in accordance to God's law. See, it's a beautiful thing when man's law goes in accordance to God's law. I think that's a beautiful thing. And that's what's happening, is that the man's law in Alabama is lining up with God's law. I love that. That's a beautiful thing. Because God's law says that abortion is murder. Shedding of innocent blood. And abortion is murder. That is a life at the time of conception. The scripture will, Jehovah God clearly says, I knew you before you were born. If he knew us before we was born, okay, so that tells us that life begins at conception. It begins at conception. So in some cases, a woman was able to go get an abortion clear up to the 9th month. That's murder. That's murder. By the time the 3rd month comes around, the baby has nerve endings and everything. The baby can feel pain and everything like that. So I love it when God's law, man's law, lines up with God's law, which says that is a life at the time of conception, and abortion is in fact murder. And some women say, well, it's my body, it's my right. No, that's where you're wrong. It's not your body. We don't own ourselves. We don't have ownership of ourselves. If you think you own yourself, You seriously deluded. If you had ownership of yourself, then you would be able to determine when you're born. Would be able to determine when you're born, what race you're born, and all that. We don't have no control over when we're born, what sex we're born, what race we're born, our parents. We have no control in any of those factors. So what makes you think that you have ownership of yourself? You don't know when you're going to die. You can't control when you're going to die unless you commit suicide. Of course, that's a sin. So you don't know what's going to happen to you as far as sickness. You don't know. You can't say, well, I'm not going to catch a cold for the rest of my life. Well, no, you don't have the power to say that. You don't have the power to determine that. You don't have the power to say, well, I'm not going to get cancer. I'm not going to get that. Because your body's going to do what it does. Okay? So if you had ownership of yourself, then you will be able to determine these things. So we don't own ourselves. We don't have ownership of our bodies. God owns our body. He owns us. He created us. He owns us. We do not have ownership of ourselves. So because you don't have ownership of yourself, it is not your right to take a life that's growing inside of you, because that life that's growing inside of you has rights. And that's what the law in Alabama is determining, that child has rights. That child, that's a human being inside of you that has rights. They have a right to life. Now, if no matter what the circumstances was, if you wasn't in a relationship with a guy or whatever the situation was, oh well. I mean, it is what it is. But you do not have the right to kill an innocent baby because you were irresponsible, because that's what it all boils down to, is irresponsibility. People are not taking responsibility. They're not abstaining from sex, and if they're not abstaining from sex, they're not using the proper precautions, protection, or whatever it is to prevent a pregnancy in the first place. And you're being irresponsible. So because they want to punish an innocent and make an innocent child suffer and take an innocent child's life because they were irresponsible. It's not right. It's unjust. And I love it when man's law goes according to God's law. I love that. When I first heard that, I said, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing, because man's law is going according to God's law. I love that. So, I mean, ain't nothing more to be said. It's a life. You know? And you don't have the right, nobody has the right to take a life. It's murder, plain and simple. Abortion is murder, plain and simple. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Wanted to give a quick take on that. If you've seen that in the news, trending in the news over the past few days, let me know in the comment section what you think about Alabama passing that law. Stay tuned. I got some more interesting video topics coming up. Please like and subscribe to my channel. This is Sweet Jill.